as I said in the last class, as I mentioned that Python, for working with that, you need some interpreter, some compiler in your machine. So have you explored any compilers, or have you explored Colab a little bit, as I have asked before, Google Colab? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. I've installed the Spider compiler in my laptop.
Okay, okay. And those who have not installed anything, you can straight away use Colab for now. There are some a little bit difference in syntaxes, some in some places, but we will get to overcome those things in time. So let me just share my screen with you all. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Yeah, my net connection is a bit weak today. Okay, so we will I will just take you through the basic introduction to the language before. So Python is basically, I'm assuming that you have some idea of about some programming language. You have done some course, maybe you liked it or not, but maybe you have done something. So I'm not going in detail about programming languages and what they are. I know that you have a pretty good idea about that. So Python is basically a high level computer language, and this is kind of a very latest in the market. It is very much being used all around in industries and also for scientific purposes. So there is a basic difference with Fortran or C, the programming languages that you have used before. With Python, is that it is an interpreter based language. So let me just talk about that a little bit. So you can see interpreter based language means that as you keep writing in your command prompt or your Python interpreter, so as you keep on writing, it is being executed line by line. Okay, in contrast to like Fortran or C, where when you first write the entire code, then if you remember that you had to compile the code first, right, at one go, the entire code, and then you run the code. So on the other side, on the contrary, Python is kind of an interpreter based language where line by line it gets on executed as you go on writing it. Okay, so it is on the command prompt I'm talking about. But if you are writing the code in a standard script file, so you can create a file as well where you write your entire code first and then you execute it. That also you can do. But this is a difference from Fortran and C, the languages that you have learned before. So this is kind of a basic difference with that. So in Python interpreter, if you have used Spider, if you have installed Spider or so, you can open that in your laptop now, and you can see that in the interpreter window, the command prompt, there will be the arrows like this, three greater than signs like this. Okay, so this is basically where you start writing your code, whatever you want to learn, and you press enter and it goes on executing that line. Okay, so this is it. This is basically the basic difference between what I feel is the basic difference from Fortran or C in terms of usability. There might be other differences as well, but as users, when we code, that this is the major difference that you will face. So to install compute in your computer, if you want to install Python, so in this course, we will be talking about Python 2 mostly. You can also use Python 3 if you want. Some syntaxes may be a little bit different. Some quotation marks will be gone. Maybe some spaces will be required somewhere. So there are little bit syntax differences somewhere, but overall the languages are quite similar. These are just two versions. So have codes that are compatible with whatever we are doing in this course, I will ask you to go to any versions of any mirror sites of this python.org, download your language, and then you can download a version of Python 2. I have written 7.15. You can use any Python 2 version, and you install that. So if you have a Linux system or a Unix system, then Python is usually pre-installed. So all that you have to do is to go to the command line on GNOME or other terminal windows and just type Python. Okay. So if you have a machine with you, you can do that. You type Python there, and the command prompt will appear. The command prompt means these three arrows will appear. Okay, and then you can start writing your code. So if you want to execute a script, a file, a code file, we are calling file, which will be having an extension of py. Okay, so .py, py is a extension for the file name. Like for Word or Excel, you have particular extensions, right? Images, you have JPEG, PNG. Just like that, this extension signifies that it is a Python file. It's a Python script. So you save your file as this, and then you just run the file by typing the file name .py in your command prompt, and it will run. Okay, so this is if you have a Linux or Unix system. And if you don't have a computer with you right now, then you might be interested to work with your smartphones, and that is also perfectly good with us. So go to Google Play Store and search for Python. There are several apps. Okay, you can choose an app. You try different apps. Choose an app which one you like best. You choose that. And you can learn from Python tutorials. There are Python apps as well. Help files are there. You can use according to your mobile device. Okay. So these are kind of in different devices how you can install Python and how you can work with it. Moreover, we also mentioned Colab, right? So Colab is an online platform where it gives you a space, RAM, everything, and it's a very good quality space and speed that you get there for the codes that we will write. That is kind of excellent, and Google provides that to us. So you go to your Google and type colab.research or just Google Colab, and you will be prompted with this link. So go there. We will also explore that a little bit in today's class. Go there, and there you can straight ahead start writing your codes, and that will create a file for you in cloud. Okay, that will be not stored in your computer, but it will be stored in your Google Drive, and you can access that from your Google Drive. So whatever account Google account will be open at that time in your computer, it will access its Google Drive and save the file there in your cloud space. Okay, any questions up to this point? Anyone faced any troubles while installing or while exploring Colab or anything? Then we can move on to the next part. So this part is, I guess, it is very much required because you need to install Python in your machine. Otherwise, it will not be possible for you to see whatever we are doing in the class. Okay. So let us go on and start to write our first codes in Python. Okay, so in any languages that you have, like Fortran, C, or maybe some of you already know other platforms like Mathematica, MATLAB, or Scilab. So there are different platforms like that. So if you use that, so you know that there is always a grammar associated with each of these languages. Okay, so we need to learn that grammar first, otherwise we cannot code in that language. And learning about a language is basically learning those grammar of that particular language, because the other side of the coding, as we are discussing in the last class, the other side of the coding is basically the algorithm, and that remains same. That is kind of almost independent of the platform that you are using, and so that is why that is something that for that you need another computer that sits inside your head. and you have to use that to create your algorithms. The coding part and the grammar of the coding is something that we learn when we learn a particular language. And from that perspective, as some of you have already mentioned in the last class, I will grade Python as an easy language to learn, because its interpretation and its syntaxes are very similar and very close to the usual languages and logics that we humans usually follow. And its syntaxes are quite accessible from that perspective, and it's minimal. It's not very complicated. So you don't have to remember a lot. You don't have to incorporate several different things. It is kind of straightforward. So for example, if I want to add two numbers, you just write a plus b and it gives you the result. You want to subtract, then you just write a minus b and it gives you the result, something like that. Star is multiplication, slash is division. Okay, similar kind of easy syntaxes will come as we will go on. We will see that from language perspective, it is the structure is quite easy, I will say. So but there are always some rules, right? There are always some rules, and those rules start from the basic idea of learning any language. For example, if I want to learn any new language, which is language, well, by language I mean any language that we speak with, right? Let's say, suppose I want to learn German or I want to learn French. Then the first thing that I need to know is the letters or alphabets of that, and then I need to construct some words out of it. Then from those words I need to construct some sentences, and then only I can express some of my feelings or something that I need to say or need to do in terms of a particular specific concrete paragraph. So the code that we are looking for is basically a paragraph like that, and for that each and every step we need to learn the alphabets and the rules of constructing those sentences and words. So here comes some rules about the language, and for first few like couple of lectures we will talk about these rules. And these are also quite straightforward, but we must know these things so that we don't face trouble while doing this computation with this new language. So the first thing that we need to remember is about in terms of variables, numbers and operators. So let us be very clear about the definition first. Okay, so what are variables, what are numbers, and what are operators? So just in the last slide, as I wrote, a plus b equal to 12, right? So what is the variable here, what is the operator here, and what is the number here, if I ask you?
AB is the variable, plus is the operator, and 12 is the
and 12 is the number. Very, very straightforward, right? So the thing that we need to remember is something very, very specific here, that suppose instead of writing a plus b equal to 12, I write in a line before, I write, let me just write it here if I can. Let me just write that a is equal to 10. Okay, a is equal to 10 or whatever that is, a is equal to 10. Okay, and then I write x equal to a. So here what is the value of x that I get?
10.
If I now ask Python what is x, then what should I get?
10.
10, right? And if I write a is equal to x in the next line, then what do I get? Suppose I don't have this. I don't have this line. Instead I have a is equal to x. Then what is the value of a? I don't know. That is the answer, because it depends on the value of x, right? So one thing that I need to be very, this might sound very naive to you, but this is kind of a very important concept that students or people while coding, they get confused very easily, is that when you have an equal to sign sitting in between, whatever you have on the right side of that equal to sign is the value. Okay, that is not the variable that we are taking into account, is the value that is stored inside that variable, that is going to be considered if we are on the right side of the equal to sign. And if we are on the left side of the equal to sign, the variable name is going to be considered and not the value. Okay, so you can consider that we have a box, and inside the box is named as a. Okay, and whatever value you keep inside the box, that is the variable value, that is the number that is associated with that variable. Okay, so if you if you consider the whatever is sitting inside the box, that is basically whatever is sitting on the right side of that equal to sign. Okay, and what the name tag on the box is basically the variable that we are the variable name that we are considering. So I will ask you to consider this for a moment and think about it, that I mean, this might sound a bit naive, but don't confuse yourself with which one is being treated as variable and which one is being treated as a number in an equation. Okay, so if I move on and talk about variables, then variables are A or B or X, whatever things that you define, that is the labels on the boxes, the names for your variables. So there are some restrictions like in all languages you have, but that is very minimal at this point. So name of the variables, that is the identifier of your, if you are defining a function, that can also be considered name of a variable. If you are writing a new module, or you are defining a class, we'll come to those points later. So they are all can be considered as an identifier, and you can consider that as a name of the variable. So that can be anything combined with alphabets, letters, and symbols. Okay, but you cannot use some of the basic symbols that are being used by the system itself, like @ dollar, percentage, etc. Okay, these mean some specific, these quantities have some specific meaning for the language, so you cannot use those things. And then another thing to remember would be that these are case sensitive. Okay, so the variable names like xy, capital XY, small xy, and x capital Y are all different. You have to be careful about that the names are basically case sensitive. Okay, so this is one point to remember. And they cannot be system commands. That is like true for all languages that we use. So there are some keywords in Python, and they are usually all lowercase letters. So those are reserved usually by system, and you cannot use them as your variable names. Like for example, some will be like and, or if, else, right? These are, you know, that these are the for. These are like some commands or some keywords that Python itself uses, and it already has some meaning for the language. We cannot use that. Okay, so this is kind of some reserved words that you cannot use, but other than that, you are completely free. You can choose any name of variables, so to say, and you can also make them case sensitive if you want. Okay, any doubts till now? Okay, so let us move on to numbers. Okay, so any doubts? Anyone was saying anything? Okay, so in terms of numbers, if I say Python is very smart, very smart compared to the other languages that you have used so far. Okay, so there are three different kinds of numbers in any computer program that handles usually three different kinds of numbers. Real numbers, I guess you are somewhat clear about the idea of this. So real numbers would be where you have some decimal part. Okay, you have a point and you have some decimal numbers there as present. You have some integers where there are no decimal plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. You cannot consider 1.2 as an integer, right? That is also kind of straightforward. And complex. So complex handling in Python is very good, and it can also in addition handle something called long integers, where integers will have an unlimited size, and it is actually unlimited size. So how will you segregate between them? For example, real numbers, you can write them in any of these possible formats if you like. Okay, so just normally 13.25, you can write like this. You can add a negative sign, it will consider that. You can also write in terms of E, right? You understand the meaning of this, I guess? So this means that how many decimal places you are taking to the power 10, right? So that also you can use while defining a real number. Integers, straightforward. You can use positive or negative integers. Signs you don't have to worry about. You can put a negative sign, it will consider that. Now comes complex. About complex handling also, Python is very smart. You just write, instead of I, we write J, like most of the computer programming we do that. So J is the root over -1, as you already know. So you simply write 5J, 9.8J, it takes it directly, okay? So you can simply add like 3 plus 2J plus 2 minus 3J, it will do that. It will consider that real parts separately, complex parts separately, it will do the addition for you, it will give you the result, okay? It handles complex numbers very well. And then comes long. Long is any number that ends with L. Okay, you can end it with a small l or capital L. It actually defines, it actually allots an unlimited size for that integer in your computer. It can go on increasing that iteratively if you go on assigning bigger and bigger values for that number. And if you are dealing with very high numbers, you can use long or L. Okay. So another important point to mention here would be that in calculations, sometimes it happens that all kinds of numbers are mixed, and that is a problem in say C programming. Many times we face this problem. So you don't have to worry about that in case of Fortran. In case of Python, the system will understand that in what number the result you want. Okay, it's a very clever language in that perspective. So if all numbers are integers, then only the result will be integers. So you are doing like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 5, it will give you an integer result. Okay, it will assign that result variable as an integer number. But if you put any one of them as real, like you do 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 5.2, your result is going to be a real number and it will define it on its own. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, so you don't have to worry about assigning it as a real or a float or something like that. You don't have to consider that. It will do that on its own. It can handle a mixture of real and integers, and it will handle that very well. It will define it as a real number as a result. Okay, in presence of complex number, the result is going to be complex. As usual, if you have any complex number present in your entire system of numbers, it is going to be complex. Okay, but after you, you can also define a particular variable as real or integer or complex. That you can always do, just like C. But it also has the flexibility that if your program is dealing with several different kinds of mixed numbers, it can handle that. Okay, so based on that, we can, based on this, our knowledge or whatever we discussed on these rules about numbers and variables, and some now it's time to introduce you to you some basic operators also, right? So we have also already, I have shown you plus, minus, star is multiplication, division is slash. Let us introduce modulus. Modulus is remainder. Okay, as divided by, if A is divided by B, and then what will be the remainder? That is indicated by this percentage sign. Power or exponent, double star. So these are kind of the I told you, this matches with our human logic. So double star is commonly used for to the power. So this is double star means to the power. Okay. Rounding off is double slash. Rounding off means that whatever the result is, you round off to a value. So like if you do 7.5 divided by 2, you will get whatever the half of 7.5 is. But if you do rounding off, then you will get only the integer part, throwing out the whatever is there behind in the decimal places. Okay, so these are kind of the simple mathematical operators that we can handle. And before we go to our next segment, that is input output statements and all. So there here you already see that if I am writing A plus B, I must assign some value to A and some value to B, right? And the simplest way to assign it will be using an equal to sign. So maybe if I want to write a code where I want to add, say, x plus y, so you can simply write x equal to 15, y is equal to 12.6, then x plus y is equal to what? You can ask the code that. Okay, so this is kind of the basic input style of giving an input to the system. You can also give multiple inputs in the same line like this. This is also something good to know, that you don't have to define them singularly at each and every point. You can do that together like this. X comma y comma z is equal to, and you write by comma separated, you can write the names of the numbers that you need them to assign. Okay, and if you want to take the input from the user, that happens several times. If you want to take an input from the user, you write input as your command. So if you write this line that a is equal to input, and then this is a statement that will be printed on the screen. So whatever value the person enters through the keyboard at that time, that will be assigned to the value of a. Okay, so that is kind of a simple input statement. So is this part clear? Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so let us now move to Colab a little bit, and let me just show you. And I would like all of you to open your Google Colab. Please do that in your computer. Okay, so we will. You can just simply try out the codes that we just I just introduced you to. Okay, so. You go to Google and you type Colab. Okay. If you type Colab, going to Google, the Google Colab comes as the very first option. Okay. You open that. Can you see my screen, or it is too small for you? The fonts. It's okay. So if you are not being able to see, please open that in your own computer. Okay. Open Google Colab, and this first intro page will come. Okay, here you will see on top, if you are doing this, then you can see that intro.ipynb, that is the page that has opened. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this is the format of the files that we are dealing with if we are doing the we are dealing with the files or scripts in cloud space. Okay, if you are doing it in Colab, this will be instead of .py, this is going to be the file extension .ipynb. So what you do is you go to File and open a new notebook. Okay, so you go to File and click New Notebook. Then a new page will open up. Is it happening? Got it, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then if you will see that a cursor is blinking at a point, and you have a play button in front of that. Okay, so that play button is basically to run the code for that particular cell. So whatever you write in this particular cell, that will be executed once you click the play button. Okay, so let us write a very simple code. Say the same thing that I just said, 7.5 divided by 2. Okay, I think the fonts are too small for you, and it will be better if you do it in your own computer. Okay, can I zoom it? Yeah, now can you see it? Is it a bit better?
Yes.
So you write this, okay, and then you click on this play button. Okay, it is running on cloud, and depends on how good or bad your internet connection is. Okay, which is bad at my point right now. Here you can see. Okay, so this is the result, right? So once you do that, you will see some comments that Google is some feedback that Google is giving to you, like we are compiling, we are initializing, allocating, so that these are the things that are happening in the cloud, and you get your result like that. Okay, similarly, if I do // which was for rounding off, and I run it again, the result is 3. Okay, any doubts? So what I will ask you to do is explore this and give some simple input output statements, like you make A is equal to something, B is equal to something, and try some basic mathematical operations that we have discussed. You can explore further in other web resources as well. Okay, so you explore some basic mathematical functionalities using your Colab platform. Okay, so for example, you can also allocate a variable like A is equal to 2. Okay, you run it. It is run. It has been assigned, but nothing is printed, right? Because you have not asked for any output. Then you can write B is equal to 3, and then you can write A plus B. So it will give you 5. It's kind of straightforward, right? So you try with different complex variables, like real variables, integers. You try different forms, and you, whatever we mentioned, right, that if you keep one of them as integers, one of them real, you can see that the final result simply comes out to be a real number. You don't have to worry about defining it as a real or an integer to start with. So I will ask you to explore these things. Okay, so our time is almost up. If there is no further doubts, we will I will stop at this point, and we'll start with we discussed the input statements, but we have not dealt with the output or taking a print out of it. And there are some more points that I need to mention while collecting output. So that those things I will discuss in detail in the next class. So I will stop at this point, and if you have no further doubts, then we can meet in the next class. So any doubts, you can ask me right now.
Ma'am, can we round off a number only at its nearest integer, or we can get our nearest decimal value as well?
You try that out. That is what I'm saying. So anything that comes in your mind. So the for Python, the documentation is really strong. So you can just go on in Google and type the question that you are asking me. Okay, and you will find like concrete answers for that. So explore those things. Okay, I will ask you to explore those things, because I can give you the answer right now, but the problem is that it will give you a good flavor of learning about the language. Okay, so you explore that, the basic mathematical operations only I am asking you. Go and explore these options, like basic functions like floor, ceiling. Can we do about these things, right? Rounding off, just taking the integer out, or whatever, changing a particular number to some other form of a number. So try those things out, and we'll start with output statements in the next class. Okay, so try to deal with it in the Colab if you are not being able to install it in your computer, and I will strongly suggest that you run some of your basic codes. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, then we can meet in the next class.